When we got back from Christmas, that was when everything kind of started to lay into place that was not right. And a particular drill sergeant who called me out sometimes during stuff and had a specific nickname for me, which was TJ. He called me out a lot more to sing in front of the formations. He would pick on me a lot more. He picked on a few other privates a lot more. I noticed him kind of singling out people more. He would start off little with something and see if you would say anything or do anything, see if you would tell other privates. It all kind of worked its way into what it became, but he was very sly. He was a mastermind at it. I had one occasion where a battle buddy and we were running down the stairs. He yelled down the stairwell and he was like, "Hey, privates," and the battle buddy in front of me was down a step where she couldn't see him. And as he was talking to her, he was making kissing and winking faces at me. And so that would have been my first red flag. We ran back down to formation and I was like, "Battle buddy, this just happened." And she was like, "I didn't see it," so we really couldn't report it and we really couldn't say anything about it. It was just one thing that had happened. I was out on the firing range and this same drill sergeant came around, and as he cleared my weapon, he was asking me if I would let him have sex with me or if there was anybody in the barracks that he could. And I was so shocked. I was like, "No, drill sergeant, I don't know if anybody in the bay would want to do that." I said, no. When I got back, I went to that same battle buddy. Her and I talked about it, and she was like, "Wow, I can't believe he said that." And there was nobody around, though, because the firing ranges are set up differently. And so there was no witnesses for anything, but that would have been my second red flag. The next day was then when the actual assault happened. We were pulling everything out and we were doing an inventory for everything for change of command. So as we were pulling things out, he had yelled from his office, "Hey, TJ." So I came into his office and that was when the actual assault happened. He had kind of cornered me and he knew what he could do where other privates wouldn't see from the bay. After the assault had happened, I had ran out and I was looking for a battle buddy to go over to the other bay because I knew I needed to tell somebody. And I was crying hysterically and everybody was so worried about what they were doing, they didn't really stop and pay attention to me, like what had just happened or ask me what was going on. I was absolutely just mortified. I was terrified. I had no idea what to do. And I went and I talked to this battle buddy and she was like, "You've got to tell somebody." But we didn't know who. We were very stuck on who we trusted, who we thought would help us. We are in basic training. We are new to the rank system. We don't understand everything. We don't understand the Army. And so we took a little bit of an opportunity to kind of brainstorm and kind of think about what was going on, even though I was still absolutely hysterical and I was so lost. We had then had the opportunity to go to the PX during that day. And while we were there, it was just eating me alive, and I couldn't keep it together, and I just started bawling. And then it became more apparent that there was really something wrong, because I am a very outgoing person, and there was definitely something wrong. More privates kind of got involved. Particular one was a male private, and he heard my story, and he was very good friends with the drill sergeant who had done this. So as soon as we got back from the PX, he ran up there and told that drill sergeant that I was going to tell on him. And that was when stuff got kind of crazy. As soon as he found out, he started throwing stuff in his office. He was swearing up and down the wall. He said, "You bring her in here." I was like, "I am not going over there. That is not going to happen. He can come over here and yell at me with all these privates in this room. He can come over here. I'm not going over there where there's nobody over there." So those privates went over there and told him that, and he came back and said that he was going to come drag me by my hair if I didn't go over there. I said, "I would like to request to talk to a different drill sergeant." And that was when another drill sergeant came up, and he pulled me into that office, and I had told him everything that had happened. and he pretty much asked me if I wanted to open up that can of worms. He said, "That is my battle buddy's career that you're about to mess with." He asked me if I was dreaming. He asked me if I was lying. He brought in another drill sergeant who was one of my other ones, and that drill sergeant was like, "We should really report this." So they did. They called the first sergeant. It was on a weekend. She was not very happy about coming in on the weekend. So when she came in, she was pretty hot. And she came in there, she questioned all three of us, and then she had all three of us write statements. They read through them, and they made the determination that this drill sergeant wasn't smart enough to do this, that he didn't have any reason why he would do this. He has a family, he has a wife. So they went with the fact that they were just going to keep it at company level and kind of sweep it underneath the rug, and they didn't believe me at all. The next day they tried to tell me that I was getting chaptered out for having a lack of integrity. They moved me to a different platoon. In that platoon, absolutely none of the drill sergeants liked me at all. They all harassed me. They all hazed me. They all had their own opinions of what happened. They all thought he was a stellar drill sergeant. During the next day, we were doing combatives, and the sergeant major walked by, and I was like, "This is it, because there's nothing else nobody's going to do for me." So I went and I talked to Sergeant Major, and he finally put his foot down, and he brought all the females up to that bay. He said, "I need to know what's going on. I need to know if this drill sergeant is doing anything to anybody, because right now I have a private with an allegation, and nobody's going to believe her unless there's more." And finally, people broke. Finally. We had hands all over the room. We had comments that he had said that were inappropriate, behavior that he shouldn't have done. And there was also some rape cases. When I approached the sergeant major, I really had no idea if he would be able to help me or if he had any idea of what was going on. I pretty much was going off of a blank sheet, just hoping that somebody would listen. By then, I had lost faith in every single person that was wearing this uniform. During the time where the investigation was going on, a lot of the males really stuck with this drill sergeant. They really thought he was great. He really was a good drill sergeant. He taught us the basics of survival instead of sitting there doing the silly stuff, push-ups and stuff. He was very good with tactical stuff, with life-saving things. So a lot of people, they did stick behind him during this, but honestly by then if you didn't like me, don't talk to me. Many times people look at just the outside, competence that somebody has and the outside character and the outside way that a person presents themselves. From the outside, this drill sergeant was stellar. He was fast-tracking on his way to first sergeant. He really was. A lot of times people missed the singling out stuff, and they missed him pulling females to the side. Because if you're a male, you don't particularly pay attention to that. Us females, we kind of tried to stick together as a team once somebody kind of said something, "Hey, this guy's kind of creepy." We all kind of gathered on that bandwagon to kind of look out for each other. But if you're a male and you're not noticing it, you're kind of lost, and you really just think of him as a stellar soldier. There was many things I could have done. We thought about talking to the chaplain. We thought about talking to a drill sergeant. We thought about not saying a word. I confided in more than one person, which definitely helped me get a little bit more of a view. A lot of the motivation to keep going would be from my battle buddies. They offered to move me to a different company to get me away from everybody in that unit, all the drill sergeants and everything, but I opted to stay there because really during those 3 and 4 days where I was just absolutely hounded on, those females we really got a tight connection, and that's what the Army's all about. as a private and being demeaned by so many higher-ranking NCOs, especially male and female, kind of definitely it's affected me in many ways. Just even being here, I definitely act different towards male NCOs. Like it happens. I have no control over it. If they approach me in a wrong way, or if they say, hey, this needs to be better, I take that personally instead of as a soldier. When it comes to trusting chain of command, you can definitely say I have a little bit of issues with that as well. I am like the first person to run up to somebody higher and skip that middle person, because to me that was the only way anybody heard me, was to skip all the way up to a sergeant major. So that was kind of the way that now is triggered in my brain that stuff will get done, when really it should be, keep it at the lowest level. I was not the only person that this drill sergeant had victimized. There were many, and there was many in that same unit with me in that same bay. Once I had came forward, they saw what I had went through, all the hazing, all the harassment, and they were terrified. Those other females had made a pact not to say anything. They weren't going to say anything till the day they died. They were going to let me sink. I have asked them, where did you come from, and how did your situation happen, and why didn't you say anything? And they all had said that they were not strong enough. They didn't feel like they could trust anybody there, and they didn't want to put themselves out there and have people look at them funny, and they were scared. They were just like any other person would be. I was scared. But when it came down to it, they really just wanted to know that somebody was going to do something. Of course you're not going to say anything if somebody higher up is telling you that they're going to rip your rank off and kick you out so early in the game. That may be all you have. You came into the Army with the Army. So a lot of times people, I know from their situation, they were very scared that they would lose their career. Well, I did have the option to get out of the Army. I chose not to. I decided that, my father was prior military, my grandfather was prior military, my other grandfather was. It's not the Army. It is the person that did this and the people that followed him that had bad judgment. The military doesn't tell you to take away your morals and your standards. Sometimes people just forget when they put on that rank that maybe this isn't right, or maybe they're using their rank for their own advantages. The training that we had was very interesting. In the first couple of weeks you get there, they compile every little single thing that they need to throw at you in a PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint. We had so many slideshows to go through, EO, sharp, how to do this, how to do that. When it came down to it, I honestly can't remember one thing particular that came from any of the videos at all, because we were so tired and we were so beat down, and none of those videos helped me at all. The SHARP program definitely could have been enhanced if they had maybe a live speaker talk about it, or if they just had somebody that was passionate about it. I think that's where a lot of times it gets kind of thrown under the rug. We just make people the SHARP, but they're not passionate about it. They have no desire to really get with victims and see how they operate, because you can't really fix something that's a problem if you don't understand where that person may be coming from. A lot of the times I've ran into a few that they're not approachable. As a victim, you need to be approachable. If I can't approach you with my deepest, darkest secret, you are nothing. You are of no help. All the training you have is nothing if I don't come forward. For other soldiers out there who this, any sort of harassment or assault or rape, bring it to somebody's attention. Doesn't matter who, just somebody, because it will eat you alive. It will stay in you, and nobody can walk around with that for the rest of their lives and not be miserable. Like, you have to tell somebody about it. That way something can be done. If there are repercussions from it, there are proper steps that says that that is not allowed. I just want people to know that there are others out there like myself. You're not alone.